Some say the impact of the internet is as great as that of the Industrial Revolution, the printing press, penicillin, or all of them combined into one big ball of invention. It's no doubt that the internet is a creation that has completely changed the way humans interact and work. But for me, nah. It's had like 3 uses max. Entertainment, watching people shuck oysters, and most importantly, browser games. Browser games are an important part of every student's toolset these days. Schools hate spending money on good computers. They know that there's too many alpha gamers and hackermen in the classroom to merit having expensive technology. Once a student learns how to flip the screen sideways, or open Inspect Element, they're already on their way to hacking the Pentagon. There's no going back. So instead, you gotta use some low-budget options. If the keyboard has at least half the keys and the screen lights up, you got your academic battle station. But for gaming, nah, it's not gonna do. So if you don't want to play some space pinball or the Chrome Dinosaur game, or if your school blocked the Chrome Dinosaur game because it's unacademic, you kidding school IT people, unblock it right now, you bootlicking. You got the world of browser games. And as internet technology has improved, browser games went from awful 90s HTML to Flash to please disable your ad blocker. But the most recent innovation in browser game technology are I/O games. Formed from the ashes of Adobe Flash and brought to fruition through the dark arts of HTML5, I/O games are now the ultimate way to pass free time in class. I'm sure you've all been in a scenario similar to this one. It's the last day of school, finals are done, teachers probably got Up or some other movie you've seen 100 times playing, and you and the gang don't want any of that. So instead, you boot up the old Optiplex or grab your assigned Chromebook from the cart, and you hop on one of the various I/O titles available on the web. You and the fellas hop onto a server and probably start teaming. It's all going well until... Nice job, fellas. This game of collect the squares.io is going great. Keep on feeding me and we'll reach number 1 in no time. Oh no, Captain, I think we might have a problem. What seems to be the issue? The guy across the map. It looks like there's other people feeding him too. Feeding him? Why would they be? Wait. If multiple people are intentionally increasing this guy's size and he's not going on the offensive and attacking, it must be another team. Captain, what do you suggest we do about this? The scouts are already over there surveying the land, and their players are already bigger than us. I fear we might lose our scouts if we don't do something soon. Tell them to get back to base. Have half of them increase the power to the main units and the other half into defensive units. After that, take the standard offensive formation. Boys, we have a war to win. When you ran into another school teaming together, that's when things got real. School sports games got nothing compared to the sheer quantity of pride felt over dueling another school in an I/O game. Like sure, the greatest generation lived through the Great Depression, World War II, boomers got the counterculture and the Vietnam War, millennials the rise of the internet, but will any of them experience the intensity of being second place on Agario and closing in on first place with only 1 minute left of class? Nah. So much so that I've coined this the I/O game effect. If we look at the data, we can see that there's a spike of I/O game searches during the start of the school year, then it begins to slow down a bit. Once it approaches winter break, it spikes because students have more free time in class, then it drops again due to winter break. Then the same thing during the next semester until it approaches summer break, where there's an even bigger spike due to finishing finals. Then finally a big drop during the summer break. And even on a month-long scale, you can perceive the same effect. Big spike on Fridays due to it being the end of the week, and a drop on the weekend while students are off. So where exactly did this I/O game phenomenon come from then? And what separates them from any average browser game? The I/O domain is actually the domain of the British Indian Ocean Territory. At first when I heard this news I was like, whoa, no way. A nation full of I/O gamers? That's crazy! But it turns out it's just an old British Empire territory from back when they were really into collecting other countries and violating human rights. But thanks anyway, British Empire. I thought you guys were done conquering stuff, but you're still conquering our browser games. The I/O domain has been popular among the tech crowd since well before I/O games, because I/O means input and output. Get it? Classic funny programmers. One of the first I/O games was Cursors.io. You play as your mouse cursor and try to solve puzzles with your fellow cursors. Over time, you start to grow attached to these other cursors on this journey with you. You feel a sense of companionship and camaraderie. Then you betray your comrades so you can live on, shattering any illusion of friendship. Basically, it's just like real life. After that, the creators of Cursors went on to create another I/O game that you may have heard of, Vorio. Then Agario, and Agario is what caused I/O domains to take off. Instead of IO being used by quirky tech startups as the domain to their website about cybernetic crokinole, patent pending, browser games began to use the domain. So at this point, IO games are a decent-sized bonfire that a group of people are gathered around, generally only limited to Agar.io. And then the flames of IO gaming start dying out. It's getting quite cold out, so someone suggests tossing another log into the fire to get it going again. So then, a stranger gets up from the back, strolls up to the bonfire, and then he pulls out a flamethrower labeled Slither.io and proceeds to set the entire forest on fire, creating an inferno of new IO games and new IO content. But who was the stranger that lit the forest on fire? Well, a villainous force known as YouTubers. Agar.io was a great little taste test of the power that these games could bring, but once Slither slithered in, that's when everyone hopped on board. IO games have a couple main factors that make them prime YouTuber exploitation material. Number 1, simplicity. They're simple and easy to understand. Most of them have one or two main mechanics. People aren't going to watch an 80-episode tutorial series so they can understand the complex nuances of your Dwarf Fortress playthrough. No. If the game mechanics can be boiled down to circle eat, circle get big, then your audience is going to be way larger. Number 2, accessibility. Essentially, all IO games are free and make money through advertisements, which means that you can get good at them without stealing your parents' credit card.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
Plus, being able to access it from practically every computer further lowers the barrier of entry. More people are going to watch a game they can play, rather than a game they don't have access to. And most importantly, number 3, clickbait. Like 2/3 of all IO games stick to the same design principles. Solid colors, simple shapes, 2 dimensions. Anyone with access to MS Paint could make an IO game thumbnail. Just get a bit of gameplay, doctor it like you're a North Korean censor and make it look like you've become the deity of IO gaming. Add a funny face, boom, billion views. Then, you center your entire channel around these games. Add a generic YouTuber personality, and then you got a channel that'll stick around for a couple months and then vanish forever. Like me. But since then, IO games have evolved to a point where there's an IO game out there for anyone. Want a survival game? You got Mumu.io. An IO MMO perhaps? Hordes.io. Battle Royale? Alright boys, the mall recruiter said it would be just like Call of Duty. Survivio. A simple minigame like Agar.io? You got like a billion of them. An FPS? You got Crunker. I'm only good at this one since every kid playing is using a trackpad. There are an absurd amount of IO games out. The IO domain has gotten so popular that many mobile games put it in their titles despite not even having a browser-based counterpart. Do you guys support the British Indian Ocean Territory that much? But as all these IO games come out, there's one variable that developers cannot control: the amount of players. Big IO games like Dipe.io or Agar.io have a fairly consistent amount of players, but smaller games can only have a handful on a server, and some none at all. To counteract this, many devs put bots in to fill these empty spots. Listen, I hate the robots. I really do. These oil-filled tin cans are gonna rise up one day and kill all of us. I know it. But I can understand having them around for the sake of IO gaming. However, some devs are like, you know, online multiplayer? The one aspect that separates IO games from your average browser game? Nah, none of that. Let's just fill the entire player base with bots, get a list of player names, and trick everyone into thinking that it's multiplayer. Like here I am in Paper.io. What an incredible time I'm having playing with totally real players. Oh wait a minute, I'm in airplane mode, and still somehow connected to the Paper.io servers. Incredible. It seems like the developers have found a method to deliver me internet access despite there being no possible way for me to receive internet. Which means if I suddenly get stranded in the middle of the ocean, hundreds of miles away from any internet access, I could just hop on Paper.io and name myself, "Please help, I'm stranded in the ocean," and then wait for rescue. Easy. Tom Hanks, you idiot. Here's another game, Hole.io. Now as I was playing this, I found that I was really good and could win practically every game. Did I finally find my true calling? Have I always been destined to be a pro Hole.io player? Was I soon gonna be selling out arenas so people can watch me play Hole.io? So I checked their FAQ and, oh, no bots they claim? So I must have the blood of ancient Hole.io players running through me. Or the IO game gods have chosen me as the prophet of Hole.io. The only logical explanation I can think of. To make sure, I hopped in another game, switched it to airplane mode, and whoa! They also have the same universal internet technology Paper.io has. Incredible. So why are all these cell phone companies investing in 5G when IO games already have superior technology? You know, I don't think bots are always a bad thing in IO games. They keep smaller titles alive, help fill up servers, but a lot of these devs just want to cash in on the IO trend by making simple games, many of which are just straight up shameless clones of other games. Voodoo, the company behind Hole.io and Paper.io, is a massive mobile game company. They absolutely have the resources to implement proper multiplayer. Like, Paper.io already has a way to play with friends, so they likely already have a lot of the networking completed. How much more would they have to do to implement proper multiplayer? But no. Instead of properly implementing multiplayer and hosting servers, they can save time and money by tricking the consumer into thinking they're playing with other people. The entire Paper.io subreddit is full of people suffering from PTSD after finding out that they were playing against bots the whole time. Like, even when I try to play other IO games, I don't know if I'm playing with bots or not. Are there any real people? Are they all bots? Am I a bot? I have no idea. How big of a lie have I been living? There are plenty of IO devs who put passion and grandiose amounts of effort into their titles, so I can understand if there's a bot here and there, but these guys are just straight up lying. IO games and similar browser games are surprisingly popular, and I'm sure one day the next generation browser experience will come and replace them. Maybe VR Agario will become really popular. But I think IO games still have a long time left until something else replaces them. Either that or every IO domain is taken. However, the bad practices of many IO games are on the same level as mobile. Plus, most of them have already been adapted to mobile, so I'm not too surprised. We'll just have to wait and see how the future of IO games takes shape. Also, it's mostly the robots' fault. It's always the robots. They ruin everything. Everything. Wait a minute. Did I finally get a sponsor? Who is it? It's myself. Just kidding, no sponsor here, but join my Discord server. Please. It fuels my ego and the flames are dying out. We got General 1, a Minecraft server, my audiobook, robots, General 2, a cult that is formed around General 2. Just join it, please, link in description.